And let's see if it's working. Let's get the sound test. Check, check, check. There we go. Five, four, three, two, one. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Oh my goodness. Did I have that deer in the headlights look this morning? Yeah, well, let's say I'm just a little bit overextended. So let's go over to see if we got the video thing on the right channel. And we don't, as usual. So I'm just going to play a little commercial and try and find. Nope, that's not it. That's it. Okay. Try and find a little entertainment for you right off the bat. And if you go to the podcast, I cut all this out. I cut the bumbling out. And sometimes I cut it out on the video, but not usually. But if you want a cleaner copy, I do have one. Anyway, nice of you to join. Say hi if you can. And let's get over to the Aldi. This is the Aldi Euro 2020 commercial, winning commercial. And I like Aldi, so here we go.
Getting an appetite for it now, isn't he? Flicks it on. Ah, that's lovely. Really is. Getting tasty out there. Oh no, what's he done? He spilled it! Lost control! Right at the last second! What a waste!
Bad swap. Swapping your big match tickets for a cheaper option. Good swap. Swapping to Aldi this summer with barbecue favourites from Aberdeen Angus burgers to Italian lager. Swap to Aldi and save 35% on this big family shop.
He's taking it on. Now that is textbook dribbling. Getting an appetite for it now, isn't he?
Come on, hit the pause button. Okay, so, if you're in the U.S., which you probably are, that's probably not, you don't probably get it. But this is an announcer for one of the Premier League teams, and all of that terminology is from playing soccer. I was a soccer player long ago. And so now, of course, to prevent that accident, I recommend you grill the sausages and especially hot dogs because they're smaller diameter, perpendicular to the grates. So here's the grates. You want to put like this, not like this. That's how you got this disaster that happened. But anyway, they have their brand is mentioned, and they have a price comparison and a disclaimer and a little bit of fun, so that's probably why it won. Anyway, on to the real news. And here's something that's it's kind of interesting because TikTok is now offering a capability of creating video resumes. So you create a video and you talk about yourself, and they're testing it out. It says they're going to go after LinkedIn, but there's no comparison, especially no comparison to talking about yourself versus a real resume. But if you're auditioning for a video role, then I think this makes sense. One of the concerns I have, I used to manage a 60-person telecenter, and we'd hire telemarketers on the phone. And what I taught the managers to do was not to have the person come in right away, but rather to schedule an interview on the phone. And we found that our hiring got a lot better that way because we, as humans, like it or not, make judgments. You only get one chance to make a first impression, and I wanted the first impression to be within the medium that they were going to function. So if they're going to be on the phone all day long, I want them to sound good. I want them to be articulate in the sense of understandable. Luckily in the Midwest, that's not a big problem. I kind of wish that was more of an issue with some of the customer support people that I talk to. Very difficult to understand. Probably in a lot of cases offshore. English is a second language, but Yeah, TikTok is banned in India. And I feel kind of slimy just downloading it because I know that they're spying all over on me. But the caution, I just want to caution you and say that not everybody that sounds great on the phone is attractive in real life. And so you might want to hire, studies have shown people tend to hire the attractive person rather than the unattractive person visually. So make your first impression related to the job that is going to get done. So if you're looking for a creative designer, you probably want to do, again, you could do an audio interview, but then have a slide presentation or something, examples of their digital design, I would say be careful not to cloud your own judgment as a hire with the first impression, and a lot of the AI tools, I've been told, will go against old white guys with beards. That you shouldn't put your age, you shouldn't put your gender, I've been told. And all of that says that even the AI makes categorical judgments. So if you want to do that, you better be good on video, because most of these companies are not hiring probably video spokespeople this way, right? They're just trying it out. It's only a pilot. So I wouldn't think that LinkedIn is too worried about it. Probably not. And one of the best ways to get a good job is to have a big network. And the best way to have a big network is not just to connect with people randomly, but to actually try to deliver value. Try to say something worth hearing, or share some content, which is what we do here. This was a really good article by Arun. I'm gonna have to reach out to Arun and connect with Arun, because it basically says here, it's really good stuff. 81% of Americans believe that the potential risks of data collection by companies outweigh the benefits. So we hear about TikTok. I found a bunch of articles about how they collect your location data, they collect your other apps on your phone. Scott Adams, for a couple of months, was talking about how his brother only follows him. So that, one brother follows the other brother, and all of a sudden, the brother would notice that he wasn't getting the updates or wasn't getting the information from, say, Twitter, not TikTok. Scott, I don't think, is on TikTok. And he said he couldn't figure out why he would have unsubscribed to his brother. It turns out that TikTok, among many apps that you might download to your phone, asks you for permission to access your connections, which, yeah, I think you have to give it. And in doing so, what you don't realize is it isn't just benign. It isn't just finding out who you know that it doesn't know. It's figuring out who you are connected with, and in doing so, it can make assumptions about your political positions. And this is hypothetical as far as TikTok. It's very difficult to prove this kind of thing. But Scott's hypothesis is that it turns off connections it doesn't like. So if you subscribe to radical terrorists, it may turn those off for you. Or if you subscribe to, right-wing politicians, it might turn those off for you. But it's especially annoying if it turn off people that are hard to connect with. Like Scott follows me, and we write back and forth every now and then. And I would hate to lose that just because some app somewhere meddled with my phone. So it's not that, even if that isn't true, that's the kind of perception that people have about your collection of data. And the really difficult part about that is that if, say, you bought from a mail order company like Cabela's or Land's End. I was just recently looking for data on Cabela's, and could I rent the Cabela's list? I worked with Fisherman, and they used to do regular drops of 500,000 pieces just to Cabela's, and then another 500,000 just to Bass Pro. And so these were big lists for Fisherman to sell magazine subscriptions. And so Cabela's no longer even rents their list unless you have a list to swap with them, because their list is so valuable as far as identifying fishermen or hunters that there's not much comparable you can send back. And few people realize that all the years I've been in the list business, which is going to be 40 years in September, you always had to get permission to use someone's list, to rent it, we call it. But it's not like maybe it is. It's like renting an apartment. You got to tell them that you can pay the rent, and you got to, provide recommendations, maybe, I don't know, but they can look you over. Well, in the direct mail business, we always were required to send an example of what we were going to mail to the list owner. Now, there are ways around that. You can mail basically public lists called compiled lists, coming from many, many sources. They typically don't do very well because they're not usually very accurate as far as who's living where. But, companies keep trying to make that work, and my experience is it still doesn't work as well as a known direct response list. But the point is that the data was never just flying around out there, okay, they bought from here and they bought from there and anybody can mail that. No, it was very controlled and very careful. And the public is not getting that message. And so this guy, and then you got scandals like Cambridge Analytica. I'm continuously amazed that people refer to this, because my understanding was that there were only something like 400,000 Facebook people that were involved. It might have been even less. It might have been like 40,000 out of billions, on Facebook. I think it's more than a billion. And so, first of all, it wasn't very many. And second of all, it was only people, for a while, everybody was getting these notices. Jane Smith had invited you to play Farm Girl with her, or whatever it is. Farm, there was some kind of farm thing that you played. I never played any of them. But like the supposed TikTok story, the alleged TikTok story from Scott, and he may be right. I'm not saying he's not. The Facebook invitation was for an app that ran on Facebook, or a bunch of apps that ran on Facebook, and they asked if they could have permission to, access your friends list. And in doing so, they would then invite your friends to play with you, even if you didn't want to play. That's what you thought they were doing. That's how you got invited. But they were doing far more than that. They were looking at all the ways you connected with other people, much like the TikTok example, and deciding to profile you as far as your political interests. But the whole thing, all piled up, was pretty insignificant in terms of the kind of data that I play with. Wasn't that big a deal. But consumers get the message, and now we're going to have a little trouble with that. And here's some tips. If you're talking to your brand, or even in your terms of use, you might say, this service is free because you shared important information with us. And then say something about, we'll be careful with it. Be transparent. Communicate with an ongoing campaign rather than just a one-time task. Or say, we're sharing your information. Like I saw there's a partnership between Bentley and some Scotch company, I think, high-end whiskey company. And, if I had a Bentley, I wouldn't mind the Scotch connecting with Bentley. And if I loved that Scotch, I wouldn't mind that being connected to Bentley either. So anyway, consumers aren't opposed to those kinds of associations. I don't think they are. I saw that Tums was going to have a Tums is partnering with a hot and spicy food company and has a new logo that you can put on foods that says Tums worthy for spicy foods. Another good example, okay? But that's in product partnerships. But basically, your customers are in partnership with you, and you should tell them what you do. I ran a website long ago, and I had my privacy policy I called the Golden Rule privacy policy. And I said, we won't share your information for anything that we want to receive ourselves. And that's the truth. That's the way it's always been. You know, I mean, but if I'm buying from Cabela's, I don't mind getting a hunting magazine thrown at me every now and then, you know, maybe a free sample or something because I subscribe or because I bought from Cabela's. That wouldn't bother me at all. And I think most consumers feel that way. What they don't like is you're turning off their Twitter accounts. They don't like you sharing it with political fundraisers necessarily. And, you know, and things outside of the scope that make sense that the list owner would enjoy themselves. And one more article, and I know I've gone too long, but I just wanted to touch on this one. This is in Forbes, The Annihilation of Attribution. Really, really good from Chris Toy. Again, I'm going to reach out to Chris. Basically, he said, marketing attribution as we know it is dying. And we've entrusted our lives to Google and Facebook, not me, but a lot of digital marketers. And we are basically asked that first of all, these digital platforms relied on the same frameworks and tactics behind original direct response marketing, like direct mail. What do you know, right? The foundation was the same. Google admits that. They don't say there's anything special about it. What they don't tell you is they don't tell you who saw it. They can show you the clicks. They can show you the responsiveness. They can show you the profile of the responsiveness. But the real question is basically the differential. Who was paying attention? Who engaged with that content, with your ad, and didn't respond? That's the part that direct mail gives you. That's the part that's missing in all digital advertising. And that's the part that gives you attribution. Okay? I'm going to be on a panel with the Direct Marketing Club of New York, John Sesson, and he, brilliant guy, just brilliant. He's going to talk about the neural network in your brain, and I'm going to be talking about attribution for one. And what they said, if you could ask, or if you could run one test, if you could tell brands, this is the test you should run. I said, well, first test mail, and second, do a holdout test. And if you do it carefully, you can find out which people engaged and bought and which people engaged and didn't. And that is gold. And that's where Chris is going in this thing. Is that Chris? Yeah, Chris. Okay. And what he says is you got to diversify your ad buy. And he mentions email, but I would say direct mail would be even a better idea. How good are your analytics? You know, we've been doing this for 25 years, literally. Machine learning, analytics, building customer databases from all kinds of sources. You need your own. If you're a brand and you want to know what's going on, I think you can learn the most through mail. That's my contention. So if you want to diversify, that's the first place I would go. He doesn't mention it in this diversifying point. And have somebody that understands direct mail analytics and testing. Because you can't test the fastest in mail, but you can test the best. And that's important. Do you have the right talent? You know, and he suggests maybe getting a fractional CMO. I would also say if you're going to try mail, for sure make some calls and talk to some old experts. We were lamenting yesterday on our preliminary for the DMCNY.org that, you know, that the expertise is dying. It's retiring. It's leaving, and it's leaving fast. And you want to get in on this. You want to learn it fast. You should do some direct mail just to learn the depth that's there that is being ignored. And if you and you need a customer database, I'm so amazed that I never get follow-up messages. I buy on eBay a lot from a lot of merchants. They have access. Sometimes I'll get an email, how did you like that item? But never anything really that says, well, we have a great company and we love working with you, and here's some other stuff you might like, or just anything that's promotional whatsoever. So build a database, keep in touch. There's so many e-commerce companies that basically try to make a living on one order at a time. And you probably can if you got good margin and efficient order processing. But the way to make money is have long-term customers that love you. Have a great day. Like and share your friends.